I mean, you've been around long enough. In any profession, people go into a profession, and then an attrition rate takes over, right? It starts when you're young, and you think that if you go to Wall Street, or you think you're going to teach, or you think you're going to be a meteorologist, this is what it looks like, right? But then you're in there 5 years, and you know it's one thing to look at the chair, another thing's to be in the chair, right? What is the attrition rate among teachers, right? And why do they leave? Because we do need more. Why do they leave?
I think it's individual. I think some teachers, you know, there's a burnout rate with some teachers. I think some teachers find another realm of education that they feel might suit them better, and they you know move out of the classroom, but they move into another realm. But I mean, in any field, there's turnover rate.
National average is about 71%. I just shared this.
71% what?
Stay in the profession.
Stay in the profession.
84% in Meriden.
Wow.
Okay.
Nice.
And when I'm going to bring to the board why we need these support programs in place and expect the community to fund them, that's part of why we support our teachers. I mean, and there's a cost to doing that. There's programs we run. There's additional training sessions. There's peer mentoring and peer coaching programs. But in Meriden, 84% stay.
And that's a big aspect of it too. Is when you have support from your central office and your board of ed, and they have programs and they have
I imagine
ideas.
it is a big.
I mean, I'm in the middle of my career, but there are opportunities that emerge. And in the district of Meriden, we push teachers to do things.
It's interesting. He said that he is in the middle of his career, Mark.
I thought he was in the first third of his career.
He said he's in the middle of his career. And I'm reading up on that Milken Award. It said one of the criteria for the Milken Award is that these are people that are identified that in the future they're going to be going to a higher level. So one day, James, I mean, teachers reach this career path, right? The split is at a certain point in time, you decide to keep up going as a teacher into whatever the highest level is. Other people branch into educational administration. So if I'm around long enough, someday am I going to be introducing you as the superintendent of schools in Meriden?
I see him running around. I don't know if I can keep up.
But is that an aspiration of yours?
Superintendent, I mean, right now, I don't think that far ahead, honestly. Okay. Right now, I've been so excited with being part of the Nellie Mae grant and the technology that we've infused in the classroom. And I've had other opportunities with being a personalized learning coordinator and getting students other opportunities to receive credit outside of the given day or built into that given day. That the creativity has been amazing.
That's the reward.
And right now, like that's my focus.
And I just
so Diana, excuse me for interrupting you. Right, you are a former teacher.
Yes.
You are now the highest position in education in the state of Connecticut is the commissioner. Somewhere along the line, Diana decided, I've been teaching, I'm going into administration, I'm going into state level education, and here you are as the commissioner. So why did you decide, you didn't get out of teaching, but why did you decide to leave?
I actually don't think of myself as a former teacher. I think of myself as a teacher.
Well, why did you decide to leave teaching in the sense of a James?
Right. It's interesting because when James was speaking about the opportunities he's having in Meriden, I stayed a teacher a very long time. I was a teacher for almost 20 years, and I continued teaching that long because I continued to have fabulous growth opportunities. I stayed in my first district for 11 years, really because there continued to be fabulous growth opportunities. And I got to grow as a teacher, I got to contribute, and research tells us that what keeps young teachers in is opportunities. It's opportunities from leadership, it's the chance to contribute, to continue to grow. And when I moved on, it was really to be someone who supported teachers. So I went into administration really because I wanted to help beginning teachers. And so I got to be in the
You were teaching for 20 years. I'm going to give you about 15 or 20 seconds to tell me the difference in students when you started and when you left. What's the difference?
To be honest, I'm not sure.
Be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure the students changed all that much, but by the time I stopped teaching, I needed my students to explain the instructional technology to me so that I could use it. That did change.
The technology.
And they came knowing how to do it. I would say that one of the big changes really was that I had to learn a lot more dynamic methods to make the learning relevant to them. I think our consumers now, our kids, really have lots of different ways to learn, and we need to keep up with them and make sure that we're planning lessons that are relevant. The kids that I taught when I first started almost 30 years ago, they didn't have a lot of options except however we were doing it. Now kids know that there's all this learning out there in the world.
I have to ask you this question. I'm the oldest one on the panel. There's no question about it. Perhaps you and Mark are in that band of being the next oldest, right? And then there's James.
Yeah. That would be accurate.
That would be accurate. That would be accurate. So tell me, Dianna, why is it that we have been successful, you and Mark and I, why is it that we have been successful without having to learn all the dynamic new methodology for these students? Did we ever get all that? We never got all that. I certainly didn't get all that. I was successful. What is it about the student today that causes you to have to do so much more?
Well, I think in some ways, I'll speak for myself, I did get that because while there weren't all these kinds of technologies, what I got, and I'm so pleased I did, was teachers who really knew me and tried to personalize learning to my needs.
Okay, Mark, how about you?
And I just got the need to compete and be competitive. I mean, like, I always wanted the next challenge, and I had teachers who would raise the bar and give me that challenge, and I had parents who knew very little about education, but knew that education was the pathway to success. So those two things.
It's interesting listening to you talk, James. You know, listen to the two of them talk. It could be 30 years after you're out of school, and if people ask you the following question, so tell me who your best teacher was, like that, you could do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They could also, if you said to them, if you asked them the question, tell me who your worst one was, like that, they can tell you. It's the same thing with coaching, Mark, right? It's the exact same thing with coaching.
But James is a leader who will be a future administrator. He's right now, he's serving on the Nellie Mae Speakers Bureau. So we have him doing a lot of creative, innovative work that I think has kept his focus and attention, but he has the leadership capacity to spread what occurred in his classroom to other classrooms.
Listen, I've already decided that one day James is going to be here is the next Mark Benigni. So I've already decided that. So we've got like 8 minutes to go, right? And in the 8 minutes that we have to go, let me bring up another thing. When I did a lot of work at UConn as an adjunct in the business school, James, and I've done a lot of work with students and done a lot of coaching, et cetera. Coaching in an academic sense and an occupational sense. Why is it that I feel that the general education that I received had so much more of a general effect on me? And what I mean by that specifically is whether or not I'm watching students or younger people being interviewed on TV at the high school level, college level, or just graduating, and you're talking to them about what we would consider to be basic civics or basic economics or basic history, they're standing there almost semi-catatonically and can't tell you what the answer is. Have we become so specialized in school that they don't have the general ability?
I mean, I would disagree.
Okay,
I mean, personally, you know, and to go back to what you said on the previous discussion, you know, one of it is technology changes.
Right.
So a lot of it is instantaneous. I didn't have PowerPoint when I was in high school, and I learned PowerPoint in college, and that was the big technology when I started teaching. And you constantly change, and our students have changed. So when you do talk to students, you know, students that I have students that are now in college will email me, and they'll talk about the presidential election because, you know, we did that in civics, and that was, you know, 5-6 years ago for them. So I think it depends on maybe time or the students in particular. Some students might be turned off by a certain subject, so they've stopped learning about it, and it's not relevant to them.
Okay. It's not relevant to them.
The days of memorizing facts are over.
Mark,
We
Mark,
could
don't do
we
it
could
to
talk
me.
into
Okay.
the phone, Jim. I get Siri. You know, I mean,
But you know, you mentioned about student civic engagement and kids really knowing about
Just who their vice president
right
of the
things
United
like
States.
and you know
How do you balance a checkbook?
That
I mean,
is
come
something
on.
that we're putting more energy on than we had been for the past several years with, I would say it's been about 10 years or 12 years with the emphasis on English language arts and math. We hadn't been putting as much emphasis on civics and social studies, but now we are, and we're really excited about that.